Jack Rankin.
Thank you, Mr Stringer. You will struggle to find a member of this House that is more committed to classical liberal ideas surrounding individual liberty and personal responsibility than me. I do wish there were more of us, but when it comes to children, I very much agree with what the Honourable Member, I think, for Cheltenham said. The government's role really is very different. It's our job to protect children and to give them the skills that they need to be able to make decisions for themselves as they grow into adults. Now, that doesn't mean mollycoddling them or wrapping them in cotton wool, but there is a clear difference between a bloody knee or a playground argument and exposure to graphic violence and pornography that can be easily accessed on social media. As many members have already touched upon, anxiety levels in children are at an all-time high. Suicide, in particular, has increased dramatically. Since 2012, the rates have doubled in boys and trebled in girls. According to the Good Childhood Report, British children are now reporting some of the lowest happiness levels in Europe. And in my constituency, a Freedom of Information request submitted to the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead found that mental health referrals in children had doubled since the pandemic. The problems we are seeing are due, in large part, to smartphones and social media. As was stated in a recent select committee, the average 12-year-old now spends 21 hours a week on their phones. And as well as the obvious harms directly, indirectly, and I believe this is the point the Honourable Member for Whitehaven was making, these are hours in which they're not having formative experiences or interacting with the world around them. Experiences which our generation took for granted. I spent my early teens climbing trees and playing rugby, not staring at a screen, and something is being missed today in the healthy development of young people. What sets social media apart is the ability to circumvent traditional safeguards of parent, family and community, with children now exposed to the weight of the world from their bedrooms. Feeling unable to protect their children from the ills of social media, we are seeing many parents resort to banning phones entirely, which I don't think is very sustainable. Things need to change. By changing the law to limit under 16 access to social media, and I take my right honourable friend, the member for East Hampshire's point that that's easier said than done, we can work a way to give parents and our children a fighting chance. And whilst I believe changing the law will play a key role in reversing the fortunes of our children, we also need to make sure they are prepared for the challenges of modern life. As with many great initiatives discussed today, in Windsor, change has come from the bottom up. There is already a very active smartphone-free branch in my constituency, and parents have shared awful stories of hardcore pornography being circulated in primary school WhatsApp groups. But separately from the smartphone-free campaign, there is a wider movement around children's mental health. The Well Windsor charity in my constituency, which I would emphasise is neutral on this particular proposition, is unique in what it does, and I believe it could be the blueprint for change across the country. It was officially launched late last year by Andy Nuttall, along with 7 other parents who recognised there was a gap in state services when it came to children's mental health locally. But this is more than a cluster of well-meaning adults. The charity is run by individuals with a varied professional background, including former teachers, ex-CEOs, business leaders, as well as clinical psychologists. And they are proactive. They're raising funds, they're talking to schools, and they're delivering already for students. The data they have collected on mental health provision in schools in Windsor confirms what we already intuitively know. Parents and teachers feel underprepared to provide the necessary support when facing rising anxieties in children. So Well Windsor, sir, works with third parties like My Happy Mind to provide schools with programmes to help children check in with themselves, practice mindfulness, improve their resilience so they can face the modern world head-on. The NHS, local authorities and the DfE can often go round in circles directing children and parents from one service to another whilst children are left to fall by the wayside. Charities like Well Windsor go directly to the schools that need help and deliver it, not in a month's time, not in a year's time, but within weeks of discussions first taking place. Importantly, Well Windsor's approach is non-invasive, with a focus on positivity, self-esteem and general mindfulness. We should be careful about raising awareness for the sake of it, because the last thing suggestible children need is to be bombarded with information about depression, anxiety and mental health. That would be counterproductive. I also believe there can be a tendency to medicate away mental health problems in children. This can sometimes come at a cost of addressing the root causes of these problems in the first place, one of which is clearly social media. If we in this place can change the law, those in our communities who are taking matters into their own hands, I believe we could really help them turn around some of the trends which we're seeing. The only thing limiting this is political will and time, and I think most of us in this House on a cross-party basis would encourage the Minister to move forward in that direction. Communities across this country have had enough of the downward spiral in children's mental health. Parents, teachers and charities like Windsor are taking action. It's time we in this place did the same. Thank you.